Joe, bro, thank you for coming to the SatPulse and StockPulse Silver Symposium. I'm so glad you got to make it.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me.
Your family is here. You got your wife and your kids here in Vegas. Is this what you thought you were going to be doing 5 months ago?
5 months ago, probably not, but I'm glad I'm here.
Dude, I remember calling you and be like, I'm telling you, I need you here, because the audience was so receptive to what you had. They were eating it all up. Everybody that I've talked to, you'll see it all in the testimonials. Joe Brown, who is this guy? I have a feeling you added a lot of subscribers over this weekend because these guys are asking, when is Joe coming on next? So I said, he'll be coming next on my show, SatPulse. That's where he's gonna go on. So for you guys who are here, please like, share, and subscribe. But it's been fun. Tell me, what is your highlight of the show so far? You've gotten an opportunity to see things, and you've been to a lot of events. What sticks out for you in this event?
Well, for me, it's always fun getting to talk to people after I speak, because typically it's kind of the same thing where nobody really knows who I am at the beginning, and then I'll talk, and people will come up and ask questions afterwards. And really, that's for me like the fun part is answering the individual questions of okay, I can address the macro to everybody, and then get the individual. What do you think about this or this or this? And so that's been fun.
I remember last year when I got to hear you speak, and I even sent you a screenshot of it. I recorded your entire clip of audio because I literally took my phone, set it down. I couldn't absorb the information fast enough. I had no idea who you were. I didn't know you had a YouTube channel. All I saw was the conversation that you were having, and I recorded the whole thing. Now here I am talking to Joe Brown. I can't believe you're here. I remember the first time I heard about Micronesian rocks, and I was like, wait a second. That is old Bitcoin. That is awesome. And then I started finding these cool safes that had like multi-locks that you have to use and levers to open up that carried like swords and weapons in it. And it started teaching me like, you're right. All we're doing is creating something new, but it's very similar to what we already know. You can draw these paradigms from what you have already experienced and seen, and you do a really great job bringing that forward. So for the people that weren't here at this event, let's give a quick summary. A lot of people were asking questions about what does the future look like? What does CBDCs look like? Give us a quick summary of what you talked about on the event stage.
Yeah, okay, so we have a kind of a progression of how money has evolved to where we're at today. You can kind of draw, take that forward into the future to see where it looks like we're gonna go. And commodity money is gold and silver coins, so people use that. That works really well. There's natural deflation, it's a limited supply. You get real signals about prices communicated so people can make accurate economic decisions because you don't have an artificially changing supply of the money. The problem with that is that you get too much deflation over too long, and now nobody wants to carry that gold coin around anymore because it's too valuable. And you can't make a coin with with smaller and smaller amounts of the precious metal before it gets to the point where you're like, well, how much is actually in there? So the solution that people were drawn to was storage, and then I have a piece of paper that I can redeem for that gold. So I keep the really valuable stuff locked away, and then we just trade the paper as money. That's a great solution because it gives you all the benefits of the sound money, but it also gives you the ability to spend smaller amounts of the sound money, and you can transact across long distances by just changing the ownership of that gold, and the gold doesn't actually have to move, and that saves on costs.
No transportation,
exactly.
No energy.
Yeah. So that was a great solution, except for the fact that it came with the temptation for the banker to fraudulently create money, loan money into existence. And so bankers started just printing more of that paper, and they do that through loans. So they say, okay, somebody else might offer you debt for 5%, I'll offer you debt for 3%. So he gets all the debt business, prints a bunch of that paper, loans money into existence, the money supply goes up, prices boom, and then people get wise, there's a run on the bank, everything collapses. Or the alternative, the other thing that could happen is the banker realizes, hey, we could get runaway inflation, so instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna raise interest rates to get ahead of it, and then again, everything collapses. So you get the introduction of the boom-bust cycle as a result.
Everything collapses.
Right. And that should have been outlawed, but instead it was nationalized. So that's what a central bank does. They just do it on a larger scale for an entire economy. And so you get these long periods of, first it was centralized and nationalized with the creation of central banks. And then it was globalized with Bretton Woods. And then when that failed, it was 1971, and we went to a pure fiat standard after that. And then, so the fiat standard, most people are, unaware of this, but it's actually a ledger-based money. So when we talk about ledger money, it's just a list. It's an Excel spreadsheet. You've got all the account numbers, you've got the amount of money that's in the account, you've got the list of transactions for each account. That's all it is. There are private ledgers and public ledgers. Every bank has its own ledger of all the accounts and all the transactions and all the money, and they keep track of their own ledgers. Those are private ledgers. The bank can stop a transaction from happening on its ledger, or cause it to happen, or change something on its own ledger that it controls. Bitcoin is a public ledger that the network controls, so nobody can go in there and change something without everybody noticing, and then people are like, no, that's not real.
And you don't need the permission of the banker to move it.
And yeah, exactly, you don't need any permission as well. And so, and as you pointed out, it's not even the first time we've had ledger money in history. Micronesian islands were an example of ledger money. They used to use these large stones that were, sometimes 15 feet tall. They were in the shape of a donut, and they would have, a collective memory of who owned what percent of these giant rocks. And so let's say you own 1/10 of the rock, and I have a cow. You want the cow from me. We have a little meeting with the villagers, and you transfer your ownership of that rock to me. Now I own 1/10 of the rock. You get my cow, and everybody remembers it. And so I can't then tomorrow say, no, I own 1/10 of that. Or you can't say 1/10 because everybody remembers that transaction.
It was
so
written
it's
down.
Public ledger and public memory, permissionless. And the downfall of that was because when the colonizers found out their money system, they just had a cheap way to make those big rocks, and they hyperinflated the economy by mining a bunch of big rocks. And so that was the lesson from history there, that Bitcoin.
But it is a
not
fun
possible.
lesson when you look back at it, because it does show you that the concepts aren't any real different.
Right.
It's a way of sharing what is true and being able to say that it's the truth. That's all people want to do, is verify the truth.
Right. So we have a ledger money system today, but it's also a ledger money system that's built on debt. And so when I put $1 in my bank account, I am a creditor to the bank. They owe me that dollar back. I don't own that dollar anymore. It's not legal ownership. I'm owed that dollar, which is illegal. That's a very big difference. So now they have to make money with that. Otherwise, they're losing money. If they just hold that dollar there, they have to pay for the lights, they have to pay for the buildings, they have to pay for the salaries. So they got to do something with that dollar to make money, because they owe it now. So that's a liability. So what they usually do is they buy somebody else's debt, or they make a loan. So now somebody owes them money for the same amount that they owe you money. They'll loan it to the government, mortgage, auto loan, whatever. So we have this whole system that's built on debt, but every time one of those new loans is made, that's $1 going into somebody else's bank account, which then has to get loaned out to somebody else's bank account, which then has to go to another one. So this whole system is built on debt. We've seen that start to implode, because suddenly everybody realizes my money's not there. We try and go get it, the bank collapses.
Correct.
And so that's the problem with things being built on debt. It's an age-old problem. It's always happened, and it always will if you have a monetary system built on debt. And so the natural progression is to go towards a pure ledger system that's not built on debt, which might be Bitcoin. We might have some other people trying to make it one centralized private ledger instead of multiple ledgers at banks based on debt. We have one ledger with the central bank, and then nobody owes money to anybody else. It's just all held on one ledger. And that would be a central bank digital currency. And there's plenty of issues with that. It's like the exact opposite of Bitcoin. And it's tyranny. I always say it's a CBDC is a tyrant's wet dream.
Oh man.
If you had, Mao or Lenin or anybody who could
It's
imagine
like
a CBDC.
you say one of my favorite quotes too, because I think one of the ways they're going to do it, as we've talked about before, is they're just going to give you this free money. And you say my favorite quote. What is it? Handouts lead to handcuffs.
Handouts lead to handcuffs. Yeah, they do, because people are going to be desperate. They're going to roll it out in a way where people won't want it, but they'll have to accept it. Like, they're going to say, hey, last time we gave you stimulus checks, you spent it, you caused a bunch of inflation, you caused a bunch of bubbles, you caused a bunch of shortages, you caused a bunch of scams. So we're going to protect you from yourself this time. You can have the money, we'll give it to you every single month, as much as you need, but it's going to be with a CBDC, which means we're going to control how you spend it. And if you start to cause a bubble in toilet paper, if you start to cause a scam like FTX, if you start to do whatever, we're just going to shut those transactions off.
Of course.
And so it's very dangerous, but most people will accept it because it'll be the handout.
Yeah, I think as long as people are here and watching, I want to make it very clear. Bitcoin is unlike any other of the other cryptocurrencies that run on a blockchain. There's nothing else like Bitcoin. And you may hear quite a lot coming out in the near future where people are trying to convince you, buy this token, or buy this CBDC currency, or buy this type of dong that is now on a digital blockchain because the dong is about to go up. And I've heard so many questions, or buy the dinar, it's going to be on the blockchain because once the dinar pops, then you're buying it on the blockchain. But do not be deceived. It is not the same thing. Yeah. There's only one way it works. That's why we love Bitcoin, because it's like gold and silver. You own it, you put it in your pocket, and you don't have to worry that you own it. And if you want to give it to your son, you give it to him, and it's his for good. There's nothing to talk about. No one can stop you from giving that to your son. And no one can take it away from him unless he gives away his rights to keep it, right? Mm-hmm. So you only give someone permission to take your Bitcoin. They can't take it from you. If you don't store it right, that's on you. But I do want to make sure that as people come into this, that they understand they're going to keep using the same tactics. They're going to manipulate you, deceive you, and we see this all the time in the media. You can't see what you know. You don't believe it. No one believes anymore what they're seeing. And I want to be cautious as this starts to come up. People be cautious. Bitcoin is not like all the other currencies, all the other cryptocurrencies, and be wary of CBDCs because I agree with you. It's a very, very slippery slope, and I'm afraid to see what it's going to be doing here. I'm very concerned about it.
Yeah.
So last thoughts for you. Favorite part of the event, what was it?
I mean, the panels are always pretty fun. Panels are fun, and getting to have multiple discussion, a little bit of slight debate, question and answer type of thing. Those are always fun. So we got one more of those. So.
What do you think about G. Edward Griffin?
Awesome.
That was fun, right? Having to have him at our show was like, that was a real treasure, I have to say. I don't know that I will ever get to have that opportunity again, but I am very fortunate for you for coming and for all the other people that came. So Joe, thank you so much. And to those of you who don't know Joe Brown yet, look below, Joe Brown from Heresy Financial. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you.